Okay, everybody, so today I am going to get into the DBQ and how to do it, and this actually applies to all history classes in AP. It's an across-the-board thing, no matter what you're in, AP Euro, AP World, or AP US History. You know, all of these things actually kind of meld together here, and honestly, it's really not that bad. But, you know, most of you, okay, it's kind of bad, but I'm going to make you awesome at it, and then it's bad because you have to do it, but you crush it, so now we're all good. And a public service announcement, I really like memes. I make lots of attempts to make you laugh. Why? This is a presentation about writing an essay. If I don't even try, you'll get to the third slide and you will give up. Thus, memes. If you don't like them, I'm pretty sure there is something on YouTube that you may be able to find. So, good luck. Here we go. All right, first and foremost, you need to look at the question. It will be short, probably only a line or two, and it's going to ask you to complete a very specific task, okay? And you have to get the task, okay? And some things that you will be asked to do. You will be asked to evaluate, explain, compare and contrast, assess, analyze. It's going, and you have to know the difference between those things, and I'm sure in your classes you're going to talk about that, but you need to really get a hold of the question. And a lot of times when people first get an AP World essay question, they jump right into the documents and stuff, instead of saying like, okay, what is this really telling me to do? Okay, and once you have that, straight away, you're going to be in good shape. Okay, now, again, make sure you truly understand what the question is and what it's asking you, okay? As long as you are straight and organized with that, you will be in extremely good shape. Now, next we have the documents, okay? We have to look at all of the documents, and there will be about 7 or 8 documents. They will be fairly short. Some might be a picture or a graph or a chart, but the fact of the matter is the vast majority of them are going to be short passages, okay? You need to read them, you need to write on them and circle things that you might see, and most importantly, you need to hip them. What? Hip? What? Look on the right. Historical context, intended audience, purpose, and point of view. This is what you have to look at for each document, because that is what is going to allow you to understand how to use the documents, okay? So first, historical context. This is from the basic ideas of HIP. So who created the source? What do you know about the author? Where and when was the source produced? You need to know the whole idea of where this is coming from and the actual person that produced the document, because that is going to give you a deeper understanding of it, and that is actually what will be able to help you to keep your assignment in a group, which is something you actually want to do. Next, you have the intended audience. You want to understand, like, who was this written for, and how might that impact it? Is there a bias that happens as a result of the purpose of this document? Okay, so we know where it's from, we know when it's from, we know who's writing it. Now we're kind of figuring out who we think it's for. Then, what is the purpose? Okay, was it to accomplish something? Was it to convince people of something? Was it to explain something? Was it to dissuade people from something? What is the overall purpose? And then finally, what is the point of view? Okay, what are they trying to, convey? But their gender, their social background, their economic status, their political persuasion, ethnicity, nationality, religion, and race, all of these things impact what the document is all about. So you need to generally know that for all of your documents, okay? So once you have that according, what you then want to do, and I don't have a slide for this, but I want to mention this, you want to try to put them in little groups. Okay, documents that have similar ideas, documents that have similar angles, and then we'll be good. All right, now we need to move on to context. Okay, when you're writing your essay, you must establish context in the first paragraph, okay? I have a little something there from the College Board, so you can pause this and read it. But basically what this means is that you need to have a few sentences that explains the events, movements that are going on in the region and world at this time as they relate to the topic. So for instance, if you were doing an essay on, say, Star Wars A New Hope, and it was, say, asking you about the impact of the Empire on the lives of day-to-day people, you would need to put that into context. So let's understand what context is. Here we go. So look at that. 3 sentences, which all really is. It's perfect. It tells you what's going on in the world. Boom, you move on. And then you're moving on to your thesis, okay? Now, again, this is where you're going to pause. You're going to look this over because I'm not going to read exactly this. But the most important thing that you need to understand in your thesis, you can get a point for it if it's in the first paragraph or the last paragraph. So, what's the deal with the thesis? Okay, the thesis needs to directly answer the question. You can be multiple sentences, although you probably shouldn't be more than 2. You need to identify why. So if you're making an argument, so for instance, if you, to answer my question from before, the Galactic Empire impacted people in their day-to-day life due to, and you would give some explanations, but here you want to present your evidence, okay? Normally you want to make about 3 specific points, and those need to be in your thesis, okay? So the Galactic Empire was a negative influence on people because of A, B, and C. Now, you are identifying, you are not explaining the points, you're identifying them here. It must be an argument, meaning that, and I'll talk more again later, in an argument, you are coming down on a side of something and you are going to show evidence and reason to support yourself. It needs to be references throughout the essay. You need to make sure you refer back to your thesis. It does need to be simple and straightforward. Don't try to be cute. Don't try to be, overly creative on stuff. Get right to the point, okay? And then it may change. As you are reading through the essay, as you are developing, you might be writing some things, and it might change, and that's okay. Now, you're going to need to provide evidence, okay? So points 3 and 4, so you can get 1 or 2 points for this, is how you use the documents, okay? So here's your stuff from the College Board, so you're going to give a quick pause so you can see what's going on here, and then now I'm going to get into it, okay? So by only referencing 3 documents, you can earn a point. But as I hear, that's for JV, and we don't do JV. This is varsity history. Yes, it's AP. We are in varsity history, and that's what I said. Okay, you get 2 points from doing the following. You make sure you use 6 of the documents, but if you can use all of them, use them, but you need to make sure you use 6 documents. Now, you have to use them. Okay, just telling the reader what's in the document isn't good enough. You use a document when you explain how its contents support the points that you're making. So you're going to talk about what's in them, and you're going to reference your thesis, part 2 here, and you're going to show how this evidence is supporting what you're saying. Okay, you don't need to quote the documents, you don't need to write things, you just need to discuss them. So you can say in document 4 and talk about the ideas that are in document 4. But you don't need to quote things, that's a waste of time. You need to show how the documents support what you're saying. Again, the documents have to be used so they support what you're saying. Now, when you're using the documents, you also will need to take it a next step up. okay, and that you are going to have to show that you know the content. So what you need to bring in is something that is relevant to your thesis, that is not actually covered in the documents. Okay, so one time you use a piece of historical evidence that is not in the documents to support one of the points that you are making. You only need to do this one time. There is no extra credit. One piece of evidence, one. So you are going to use a historical event, a historical argument, a historical point of view, but something that occurred at that time period that supports what you're saying, but isn't in the documents. That's how we get that next point. Okay, we're almost done. Deep breath. Deep breath. Maybe you pause. Maybe you walk away for a snack. Okay, but let's keep going. All right, now there are points here. I have points. It's point 6 and 7, but you have point 6 and point 7. Okay, analysis and reasoning. Okay, for at least 3 documents, it explains how the document's point of view, historical purpose, impacts what they're saying. Okay, so take a minute, pause. What does that even mean? Here you go. You're going to use your HIP skills, we just talked about this before, to show how the author's view impact what they're writing about. Okay? So how does point of view or the audience impact the argument of the author? What is the bias and what does it affect? You must use this 3 times. You only need to use it in a sentence. So when you're discussing how that document is supporting the thesis, at the same time, you talk about the audience, you talk about the context, you talk about the point of view, and how that alters what the document is saying. And saying, like, so for instance, you can be describing a document and say, well, this author was writing from the point of view of a government official, so they're going to be more inclined to support the government's idea here as opposed to a common individual. Stuff like that. That's the whole idea, okay? And then there's this, like, crazy extra thing, okay? And you get the 7th point for if the essay demonstrates a complex understanding of the historical development that is the focus of the prompt. Okay, what this means is that your argument is complex. It includes points that are a bit outside expectations. And look, this is not easy. This is something that you need to address near the end. You can try to weave it in, but you need to focus on the other points first and then get to this, okay, do I have this kind of extraordinary document? And what does it mean by this? So here you do similarities and differences. You explain relevant and insightful connections with across periods. So say when you use your outside evidence, you reference something that happened in a different time period or a different region. You use multiple perspectives. You actually use alternative views or evidence. You're just, as you're making your point, you're doing things that are a little bit exceptional and show that you have a deeper understanding of the topic. And at the end, we have to make a conclusion. Don't blow it off. I'm going to keep it simple. Summarize what you wrote and restate your thesis. Because a lot of times, as we now have written our essay, we have a better handle on our thesis, and so as a result, when we rewrite it, it's a little bit stronger. So the reader might not have initially wanted to give you points in the thesis in the first paragraph, but then they could read it in the last paragraph and be like, oh no, here's what they're saying. They know what's going on, so we're good. And we're done, just like the Lord of the Rings. And this is important, guys. And I know I went through these a little fast, but this is just to give you a general approach to the DBQ. And the cool thing about the DBQ is it's really content irrelevant. Yes, the one point that you have to bring in is specific outside evidence, but say you don't do that. Okay, you can still get a 6 out of 7 points. Okay? So even if you don't 100% know the topic, what you're being tested on here is your ability to make an argument, to look at documents and look at sources and say, hey, this is what I believe is the answer to this question based on the documents that are in front of me. And if you go into it like that, you'll be more relaxed and you'll be able to write a strong essay. Because even if you have no idea what this topic is, you can still write a really good essay and get a great grade. All right, guys, so I hope this gives you a good general idea of the expectations, and good luck.